Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Switch Statement Podcast. It's a podcast for investigations into miscellaneous tech topics.
This is our 6th episode on Elon Musk by Walter Isaacson. We'd love to hear from you. Send your comments and feedback to team@thkp.co.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Hey, Matt. How are you?
Here's Johnny.
Yeah, sorry. I had 4 coffees this morning, so I might be a little hyper.
The appropriate number of coffees.
I'm just simulating Musk.
Life.
I'm going to do one episode cool, calm, and collected, and then the next one really boisterous.
Yeah, if you could berate me, like maybe I'll propose something. Like, okay, like last time I was like, why don't we do XYZ? You should have been like, that's stupid. You're stupid. We're doing it my way. Get out of my office. I'm going to fire you.
You haven't even gotten a toothpick into space.
Dude, spoiler alert.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Yeah, that's going to be next episode. Man, you're going to have to come back. Teaser. What is toothpick in reference to?
Yeah, that's a pretty enticing statement. What could that possibly be about?
What could that possibly be in reference to? Unless you're a deep Musk head, you probably don't know. Now, would you say you've ever been on the brink?
I've led a very cushy life, for better or for worse. I've been thinking about this a lot while reading this book. You know, this is a tale of a guy who just continually takes these huge risks, puts himself out there, makes himself extremely vulnerable, both financially and psychologically, like literally on a regular basis. And
what was that camp called when he was growing up?
Oh man, it was something like
Veldspar.
Yeah, Veldschool.
Veldschool.
Yeah, I know it's Veld because that means forest in German.
Oh, okay. Forest school.
I guess.
Oh, that's cool. Well,
primal.
I guess he's just been careering. I think technically it's like supposed to be like you're supposed to careering off course or something, but
oh, I thought it was careening.
I think that's one of those things where pedants will say, "Oh, technically, it's like champing at the bit instead of chomping at the bit."
Oh,
I think the original is careering off course.
That's crazy because career is like, you know, your
you're
job.
on course.
But in any case, we find Musk on the brink in 2008.
And it's so funny because last time I was basically like, this wasn't really that serious for him. He would have just found another investor. And then meanwhile, he's like, sell your emergency Apple stock.
Yeah. Dude, this cracked me up because, okay, so they briefly mentioned, basically Elon's hemorrhaging money in both SpaceX and Tesla. Both companies are having existential crises. Like SpaceX literally had 3 consecutive failed launches that we discussed. And so they like really need to get a launch. And meanwhile, Tesla hasn't even produced a car on an assembly line. They just have this mule. So he's in dire straits. And he asks Kimball, his brother, to sell $375,000 of Apple stock and put that money into Tesla, which it's insane because $375,000 of Apple stock in 2008, he would have 42x'd that investment.
Oh my God. I'm so glad you looked that up. That would be crazy.
But it's like he picked the one better investment, which is insane.
You wonder if
did he get equity?
Stock? Yeah, did he get equity? Probably not. This seems all very informal.
Oh God, I hope he gave him some form of equity But anyway, I was just, when I read $375,000 of Apple stock in 2008, I was like, oh my gosh, that would, if I was Kimball, I would be like hitting myself.
Yeah, he's probably doing okay. I would bet Kimball is doing just fine.
Yeah.
Kimball, again, I almost think that Elon would not have gotten anywhere without Kimball, but you never hear, I had never heard about Kimball before this, but he just keeps on like popping up to just stabilize the situation.
Dude, so yeah, I agree. Like, my favorite people are these kind of like shadowy people that like never ask for kudos and they just exist in the background, like making everything work.
Dude, you know
helping
who Kimball is like?
Who?
John Cazale.
The actor.
That one actor.
Yeah, Dog Day Afternoon, Godfather. Dude, totally. Yeah, he's like, whenever he shows up, the movie is brilliant.
He's never kind of a highlight, but he's just he's sprinkling his fairy dust.
He's always the highlight for me.
Oh, nice. You're a real Kimball stan.
I am a Kimball stan. Just like you're saying, whenever he's mentioned in this book, it's like he's just coming in the clutch and like basically saving his brother. But anyway, Musk mentions this thing that I thought was interesting about SpaceX and Tesla, because everyone kept telling him to basically quit one of them and focus on the one that he really cared about. And he said it was like he had 2 kids. So obviously you can't quit on one of your kids.
Yeah.
And that's how he felt about Tesla and SpaceX.
Yeah, it's like you don't have enough food to feed both of your children. So it's like, which one do you choose?
Yeah. Literally a Sophie's choice, which he was not willing to make. Well, and this is an interesting thing about people like Musk is you need this personality where you can just be on the brink and survive and just push through. And I feel like I would do something to get myself out of that situation. I probably would get rid of one of the companies and focus on one of them, or get rid of both.
Yeah.
And I do think that, Musk, say what you will about him, he's at least 2025 Musk is an evil jerk. But there was a time where he was just utterly focused and just very dedicated to what he was doing. So he's in these dire straits. And we had discussed the 3 failed launches of SpaceX in the last chapter, and he put all of his chips on the table for this 4th launch. And some of his PayPal ousters also come to the rescue.
Yes.
He's basically looking for money everywhere. And he mentions at one point that when these PayPal guys ousted him, he remained cordial, and how that kind of ended up saving him, which it's just funny to think of Musk like remaining cordial, because there's so many instances of him like exploding on people. Just thought that was interesting. Another little tidbit I thought was interesting is that we've mentioned this David Sachs guy before. I guess he was part of the OG PayPal crew, and then he also helped out. Was he the guy that helped out with Holtzhausen with the manufacturing problem? Was he part of the SWAT team?
I think, was he with Gracias?
Right, Gracias. I was thinking of Gracias, not Holtzhausen. He's a different guy. But anyway, they mentioned at one point David Sachs funded the film Thank You for Smoking.
Oh.
Which I just thought was like utterly random and interesting. Back to the actual launch. They end up because they built this rocket in a factory in like California or something. Yeah. So they had to transport it. They rent a C-17, which is like this massive military airplane. Mm-hmm. And as they're transporting the thing, this is just par for the course for SpaceX. The C-17 descends. I wrote too quickly in my notes, but I don't even think it was too quickly. I think it was just like a normal descent.
Well, it was too quickly for the rocket.
Yeah, too quickly for the rocket, because the cabin pressure increases when you descend in a plane. And one of the valves in the rocket wasn't letting air like in or out fast enough to equalize pressure in one of these tanks. And so the tank like started crunching.
Buckling, yeah.
Yeah, buckling. And they had to have...
Yeah, like one of the SpaceX people like went up to the pilot and was like, "You need to stop descending right now." And it's like he breaks all the rules, and then they're in this scenario where it's like he's just getting everyone around him to like break more rules, because it's like, what else are you going to do? The whole point of this mission is to get this rocket to this other place. It's going to be like, if you're the pilot, you're like, all right, I guess we have 30 minutes of fuel, so we can't go that slow. But they do it. I guess they open the valve and then they're able to descend.
They just talk about it. It sounded like an engineer had to crawl into the ship and
the cargo bay or whatever.
Yeah, and they talk about whether or not they should go back to California to fix it, because that's where the place is where they built it. And Elon's, no, we're going to fix this at Quaj.
Yeah.
And so that's what they decided to do. And this 4th launch, it works. And this is huge, because this is basically the first private company to launch a ship into orbit, and it enables them to win some of these very lucrative NASA contracts. NASA needs stuff up at the International Space Station on a regular basis, so they're constantly looking for people with shuttles, and so they win this big contract.
$1.6 billion NASA contract. So this was no small potatoes. I mean, this was major. So this really gave them the runway to start actually building a real reusable rocket. And we'll get into that too.
Yeah, 100%. So they're taking a few steps back from the brink. And during this phase, he makes Gwynne Shotwell the president of SpaceX, presumably to take a little bit of pressure off of himself. But also Gwynne sounds like a badass, so seems to make sense.
But man, it's like whenever it gets into these situations, they go to Elon and they're like, we're going to have to push this launch out 5 weeks. And then, there's a crack in one of the bells. He's like, can't you just trim it? It's like, wait a minute, you're going to just cut a little piece off of this rocket before it goes into space?
Dude, that part was crazy when they were trimming the skirt.
But that's on him, tell him about the risks. And then he just takes the risk. And he just seems to be really good at making those calls.
Yeah. He does these sort of mental calculations, and a lot of the time he appears to be right. Although he's been wrong. There's been several instances where he screwed up.
I think what he's good at is he assesses that whether or not this is the time for it to be worth taking that risk. And he's like, there is a risk that the rocket explodes, but if we don't do this, then the probability is zero. That wait and delay, I don't have enough money, and the probability is going to turn to zero. So it makes sense to take this risk.
Yeah, exactly. So he saves SpaceX, at least for now, but he still needs to save Tesla.
Tesla's still on fire.
Yeah, and this is one of the crazy things about this book and Elon's life, is he was going back and forth between these two massive undertakings, and there was just constant drama in both of them. And I just do not understand how one person has the time
to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. So Tesla is in rough shape. They really desperately need money. They're actually spending the deposits that people gave for Roadsters, which seems, I guess he had a lawyer check this out and it's apparently legal, but it really seems dishonest and morally wrong.
Yeah, regardless of whether or not it's not legally wrong. Because I guess it's the sort of thing where as long as you're prepared to be sued by the Tesla holders, and I mean, it really depends on the terms of the agreement.
Right. Yeah.
Because, I just said if we go bankrupt, you have no claim, no claim to anything. In which case, it's what are they going to do anyway? It's either they're going to succeed and they'll get their car and what have you, or the company's going to go bankrupt and they don't have any rights to anything anyway.
So it's one of those things where this did enable him to save Tesla.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. At least to me, it seems wrong. But then again, if he hadn't done it, probably wouldn't have saved Tesla.
This is what he's all about. He's like, all right, does this restriction make sense? Regardless of whether or not there is a rule, everything, all these safety restrictions, he's just constantly challenging everything. And so he's like, what's the reality, the underlying reality of the situation? This regulation was put in place because other people are too stupid to determine, but I'm smart. And so I'm gonna break the rule.
Yeah, exactly. Which is,
and this with his own rules too, right? Because and this is what we saw. And actually, this is going to be going back to, or I don't know if this was just the fourth launch, right? They put all these safety restrictions in place, and then they were like, in order to fix this issue that with the crumpling, whatever, it's going to take weeks to do it. And then he walked that back, and he's like, all right, let's not do that. And so it's not like he's doing away with all of everyone else's regulations, and then but we need to listen to mine. He's breaking his own rules, basically. So.
Yeah, he's good at this in the moment discernment, which we were just talking about, where it's no matter what the rules are at any given moment, depending on the situation, he might break them.
Yeah,
which is a good quality, I think. But in any case, he mentions this guy Alan Saltzman, who, of course, I didn't write down what organization Alan Saltzman was a part of, but it was. Did you write that down?
Vantage Point Capital.
Vantage Point Capital. Yeah, so it sounds like private equity. But they were giving Tesla a bunch of money. And this Alan Saltzman guy wanted to scrutinize, Musk's business. I guess he also learned that Musk was spending these Roadster deposits. So he, insinuated himself into things and was like, what the hell are you doing with my money? And so Alan and Musk really butt heads. And I guess Alan is one of the people that Musk just gets irrationally upset about.
Yeah.
Him and Eberhard, who was one of the founders of Tesla. But anyway, Musk ends up going around this guy Saltzman by taking on a bunch of debt and he also gets Daimler to invest 50 million into Tesla after. This was an interesting scenario. They invited Daimler to come take a look, and they knew that Daimler was interested in an electric smart car. Mm-hmm. So what they did is they bought a smart car in Mexico or something. Or was it Mexico or New Mexico? I didn't write it down. But they shipped this smart car up to the Tesla factory, and they just put one of their batteries in it. And then they had these Daimler guys. They basically were like, oh, we actually have a working model. Come check it out. And it impressed the Daimler guys, so they invested $50 million.
Yeah, it was from Mexico.
Okay, cool. But yeah, so I don't know, just a testament to Musk's willingness to do a bunch of crazy stuff to save the day. And yeah.
One more note about this Alan Saltzman guy. Musk says, when I say he is a douchebag, that is descriptive, not pejorative.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it's completely one directional because Saltzman is like was doing what I thought was right for the company at the time.
He's even nice about Musk. He's like, I was impressed with Musk. I found myself liking Alan Saltzman. I think I just wind up liking people who have conflict with Musk because they seem reasonable.
Yeah, and that's what's crazy is because a lot of these people who butt heads with Musk are like, yeah, he was a major asshole. I can't disagree with them. But also, This is, I think, what allowed Elon Musk to succeed. So
the proof is in the pudding.
All right, but so we talk about their next model. I guess the Roadster is still underway, right? But then they take on, or have they started shipping?
My understanding is that they haven't figured out manufacturing yet, but they are working on other models. And so this is a discussion of the Model S, which was a very early Tesla model. They have trouble designing it because the Model S is a sedan, and evidently the Roadster was much easier to design. It's a two-door. It's just easy to make it sleeker and cool looking. But with four doors, it jacks up the proportions, and it's just harder to make it cool looking. They hired this dude, Henrik Fisker, who Musk almost immediately hates. Henrik Fisker produces these designs, and Musk is this trash, and he fires the guy. Oh, and then this is where Franz von Holzhausen comes in. So Franz von Holzhausen was a designer who basically replaced Henrik Fisker. And they actually become collaborative partners. This is one of the things I was wondering about. Has Musk ever had anyone that he peacefully worked with for a long time? I have the same question about Donald Trump. I'm very skeptical of people who just literally have never had partners in their life, have never collaborated meaningfully with somebody. But yeah, here's a guy, Franz von Holzhausen. They have a lot in common, and they get along, and they have this very productive collaborative partnership.
I think in order for that to work, you need a very particular kind of personality, someone who, when Musk says something, you just take it as okay, I'm just going to do whatever it takes to do. Because the problem with Henrik Fisker is he had a bunch of ideas about what the car should look like. And then when Elon was change it, he was that's a good idea. And that's just not the dynamic that Elon wants. And he gets really upset if you're I don't think that's a good idea. And it's no, what the dynamic we need or I'm looking for is someone who's just going to take whatever I say and do whatever they can to implement it. So
a sycophant.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that's a client relationship. Whenever I'm doing engineering work for a client, it's going to no one has ever been even close to as extreme as Musk in terms of what they want, or just stating what they want and just be do this. But
yeah,
I try really hard not to have, I'll make estimates about how long something is going to take. But even if they were to do it in X weeks, I would be I don't think that's possible, but I'll try.
Yeah. That's true. I guess with engineering, I've often thought philosophically, you should just be a black box that takes in requirements and does the job.
Yeah.
And doesn't really fight that much. So
it just really depends on whose job it is. It's much better if you understand what your role is. And as long as it's not unethical or something.
Yeah.
You just do it.
Yep. So they mentioned the battery pack, which this guy, Drew Baglino, is in charge of figuring out the battery pack. In the Model S, the battery pack is basically the whole bottom of the car, which I didn't realize this, but it's different from the Roadster where the battery pack was like
in the
middle.
Or
it was like behind the seats.
Yeah.
So it's like a Porsche where it's like a mid-engine car, which, you know, the Tesla cars where the battery pack is in the bottom, I think that's like a very unique design. And it enables Teslas have like their weight distribution is they have a very low center of gravity, which makes them like feel good to drive. Yeah. But it is also tricky because these battery packs are huge. And they talk about this section where Drew Baglino thinks that they're going to need 8,400 cells. And Musk just like immediately does his weird brain math and is, no, we only need 7,200. And Baglino is, that sounds impossible. But then he finds that it is possible. And that's what they end up doing is 7,200. And this enables them to make the battery pack thinner so the car can be a little bit more sleek.
Not to mention just less expensive, lighter. You know, if there's actually, it's probably a differential equation in terms of like, if the battery pack is lighter, then you can go farther. You know what I mean? Because that's just less weight that you're lugging around. It's kind of similar to the rocket fuel thing where when you make it lighter, you need less rocket fuel. And
yeah, I was just going to agree. Like it's got this sort of massive knock-on positive effect.
Yeah.
Which it sounds like was really good for the Model S. One of the things that Musk did that I really like, I feel like this is something that became more in vogue while we were coming up in our career, but basically combining designers and engineers, like just getting these teams that were almost like full stack teams, design, engineering, and at Facebook, they even had data scientists and UX researchers that were all co-located, all sitting together and chatting on a daily basis. And they mentioned that Jobs pioneered this, and I just wanted to mention this cool Jobs quote where he says, in most people's vocabularies, design means veneer. But nothing could be further from the meaning of design. Design is the fundamental soul of a man-made creation that ends up expressing itself in successive outer layers. Talking about what I think is like a universal truth of product development, where the design, engineering, and everything have to interact seamlessly and be a coherent whole. And I think that's part of the reason Musk and people like Steve Jobs create better products, because they have this deep understanding of this.
They structure their teams in such a way that it reinforces that. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Just a little tidbit. So von Holtzhausen, he was apparently the guy who designed the pop-out handle, like the handle that is flush, but then it like pops out when you when you approach it. So we have him to blame.
Just endlessly talking about handles. Speaking of handles, they mentioned Joni Ive, who was like the collaborative design partner that Steve Jobs worked with for a lot of the Mac shit. Joni Ive created that iMac. Yeah. You remember those like
the big jelly
looking yeah. And it had that big handle on the top, and I even remember joking about this as a kid, like how often are you picking up a monitor and moving it around? Yeah. Like you literally do that once, and then their argument was the handle made it look more playful and approachable.
Inviting, yeah.
They mention a part where, you know, in cars where you like pull down the visor. What do you call that visor that you can pull down?
Yeah, is that like sun visor? Sunshade?
The sun thing? Anyway, there's that thing you can pull down and you can like look at yourself, do your makeup and stuff. And there's a little warning in that thing usually that talks about the airbag and how if there's like a child in the seat, you should turn the airbag off. And Musk did not want that government warning. He thought it looked bad.
Yeah.
So
it does look bad.
It does look bad. He's right. But he made it so that the seat detects if there's a child in it, so that they didn't have to have that government warning. So it's just a testament to him going totally out of the way in order to like save on some tiny little detail. I just thought that was very Musk.
So basically it would detect if a child was in it and it wouldn't deploy the airbag.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they didn't need a warning because it wouldn't go off if there was a child in the...
Yeah.
Wow.
And one last thing, actually, I just think this is important and part of the success of Tesla is Musk thought of these Tesla cars as like half software.
Yeah.
Like the whole model of a Tesla is software runs everything. It's a bunch of mechanical hardware pieces, obviously, but software is governing how much like battery power is used when you press on the gas. It's governing everything. There's not like mechanisms governing things. So what that enables him to do is push these updates that improve car acceleration.
Yeah.
Which is, as far as I know, this was like very unique to Tesla's and probably provided a lot of advantages with putting a car out into the world and then like steadily improving it.
So he also talks about the touchscreen. And like, I mean, listen, I drive a 2009 Toyota Corolla. It's got buttons galore on there. I think there's something kind of nice about the physicality of a button that you can turn, you can feel, when you've activated it. I think design of everyday things. A touchscreen is really designed to be used when you're looking at it. And if you're not looking at it, the experience is subpar. And I want to say that I think there's studies that have shown that it takes more time. You have to look away from the road for longer to interact with the touchscreen.
Yeah.
And those are all things where it's like, I actually do not like. I mean, obviously there are upsides. You can play fart sounds, but there are downsides, and I wish that there was more of a balance between. The other thing is like, I don't want my car to have a big ass screen in there that's going to be expensive to replace. I have my phone. I can clip a thing to it's like, make the car simple. Like I'm fine pushing over the updates to like the wheels or whatever, but I'm just less enticed by the idea of like the car as a computer.
Right. Yes. No, that's fair. I'm a Tesla owner, but I completely agree that there's pros and cons of how Teslas are designed, and the big screen sometimes annoys me. Sometimes it's cool. I think it really is just pros and cons.
Yeah. And I think the last thing is, I think the idea of like getting updates to the car over the air is cool, but I think there's kind of a dark pattern version of that where there's functionality of your car that they can turn into a service where like that's just
like full self-driving.
What's that?
Like full self-driving.
Right. Like when I see a product like that where it's like, oh, like it can all be dynamically changed over the air. Like, isn't that great? And it's like, well, that's going to be great until, enshittification begins. And have you heard this term, enshittification?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I guess term. It's a pretty common term now, but it's like, yeah, the business needs to figure out, okay, how can we eke more profit out? Because it's like that's what they're going to do. It's a business, but I prefer a product where it's like it's not remotely disableable.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that was all my notes. I think we can call it there. And then in the next episode, we'll be discussing more about SpaceX and Tesla.
Very cool. All right. See you there.
See you, Matt.